Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Victoria and this is Time and Tenderness. So today's video is going to be a more serious video, and the beginning of it is going to be rather depressing, but I promise stick with me until the end because I do have some positivity to share with you towards the end. So it is no secret that having a child is a massive life change. Not only does your body change, but so does your home, your schedule, and your routine. However, not many people necessarily prepare for how having a baby can affect your relationships, specifically your marriage. Also, sometimes having a baby can reveal some uncomfortable truths or weaknesses within ourselves and our husbands. Recently, there has been a huge spotlight on maternal mental health because of the Lindsay Clancy case out of Boston, Massachusetts. If you are unaware, Lindsay Clancy is a mother of 3 who was experiencing severe postpartum depression, anxiety that manifested into what is known as postpartum psychosis. She had been seeking help for weeks. At times, it is reported that she was going to therapy up to 5 times a week. Her husband was fortunate enough to be in a situation where he could work from home so that he could better support Lindsay and the children. However, unfortunately, on one fateful day, she slipped into a psychotic episode that resulted in hallucinations, which is what postpartum psychosis is, which resulted, unfortunately, in the deaths of all 3 of her children, as well as leaving herself in critical care after a suicide attempt. Now, I don't have any additional details besides that, but her story, her situation has blown a huge spotlight onto the maternal mental health crisis going on, as well as the lack of care and support that postpartum families commonly experience nowadays. So many conversations have been taking place in recent weeks, and I want to focus on the topic of how specifically having a baby can affect your marriage. For 9 months while you're pregnant, you go first to monthly checkups, and then you move to weekly checkups, and then bing bang boom, the baby is born. The baby gets a 48-hour checkup, a 1-week checkup, 2-week checkup, 1-month checkup. But what does mom get? She only gets a 6-week, if that, postpartum checkup. And in my doula community, I'm being told recently that a lot of doctors' offices are actually getting rid of 6-week postpartum checkups and just doing like a telehealth call-in. The changes a woman's body goes through during pregnancy and postpartum does not stop once the baby is born. After your baby is born, your body has to heal a dinner plate-sized wound within your uterus. Muscles and organs that were either displaced or stretched, they have to work their way back into their normal positions. And there is a massive hormonal shift that needs to regulate itself out to go back to normal levels. For some mothers, this whole journey can take upwards of 18 months. 18 months. 18 months. That is a 1.5 years, and that is not counting the 9 months of pregnancy prior to that. So how does this all play into how a baby affects a marriage? Let me tell you. Recently, there has been a trend on TikTok. A lot of mothers are coming forward to share what happened with their relationships after the baby was born. I'm going to play the video for you that sparked this trend, and we're going to discuss it. So the creator that posted that video, her name is Bailey, and I have the pleasure of being connected with her on TikTok and on Instagram, and she gave me permission to use her video. So what is this trend all about? Essentially, women are coming forward and saying that during their postpartum period, they were desperate to be seen, desperate to be heard, desperate to get support from their spouses. However, it just felt like their spouses were either blind to their situation, ignoring them, or just not seeing them. And because of that, a rift grew within their marriage. All of this can tie into mental health, as well as in some cases tie into society's perception of our roles within our marriages, as well as how we might have been brought up as children. Now, are there cases where there are some men who are just very lowly individuals who genuinely turn their backs on their wives? Yes, but I'm not discussing those individuals for this video. Today's video is a focus on mental health and education. So I shared that video, I shared Bailey's video on my Instagram, and I put up several polls on my Instagram stories to get my audience's view on everything, and I want to share with you some of the results. So for the first question, I asked, how did that video make you feel? 29% said they felt neutral, 48% said they felt sad, 16% said they felt seen, and 7% said they felt scared. So I put scared on that first poll because there are now a lot of young ladies who are coming forward now after seeing all these videos and stories about how babies affect a relationship, and they are saying that they have now changed their minds, that they do not want kids anymore because they are genuinely afraid that their husband will turn their back on them or that they will lose their husband in the process of bringing a child into the world. And it is stories like that that motivated me to want to make this video, because you don't need to be scared. Can a rift happen in a marriage? Yes. But we also can be prepared, and we have tools to help fight against it. So for the second question of the poll that I asked, I said, did you experience a temporary distance grow between you and your spouse after the baby was born? And 58% said yes, and 42% said no. For the third question, I asked, do or did you feel that postpartum mental health played a role in that experience? 73% said yes, 27% said no. And for the fourth question, I asked, do you or did you feel that your husband's view on parenting and his role as a father made an impact? 68% said yes, and 32% said no. And this last question, I feel, was the most important question of all. If you experienced a rift grow between you and your spouse, looking back, do you feel that if your spouse had better education about what a woman goes through postpartum, that rift might have not happened? And 68% said yes, and 32% said no. As a doula, I have had the pleasure of working with numerous families, and I've begun to notice some things. Specifically, I've noticed that when the husband takes an active, eager, and willing role in educating himself, not only about pregnancy and babies, but also the postpartum period, that these types of issues, a rift, is less likely to happen. Now that is my personal observation. There is no, just anecdotal evidence. Now, in my own personal experience, Jack and I did not have a rift form in our marriage. We had difficult days, we had sleepless nights, and I did get diagnosed with postpartum anxiety and depression. But the key here, I feel, that led to us not experiencing that rift was that my husband was educated, sincere, and humble. 3 attributes that he still is to this day. I think that society has ingrained into most men that they need to be these strong, fearless, capable leaders, and they need to stifle away emotion. And that the sensitivities surrounding babies, mothers, and even mental health just isn't manly. And I have to disagree on that. I feel that there is nothing manlier than a man who is a strong, fearless leader, capable, but also sincere, kind, and humble, and in touch with emotions, especially in regards to his wife and family. Now, my husband and I are of the Christian faith, and my channel here is not a faith-based channel, nor do I ever have plans for it to become one. But I cannot credit our postpartum experience without mentioning some Bible-based principles. Principles that I think are very generic, that no matter what your faith or background, you might even agree with. The scriptures tell us that husbands should assign their wives honor as to a weaker vessel, the feminine one. And being called a weaker vessel here is not derogatory. I want to emphasize that. Vessel here is used similarly to how a wine glass is considered a vessel, and a wine glass is weaker than a beer stein, but both of these two vessels are still valuable and still beautiful. The scriptures also say that husbands should love their wives as they do their own bodies. So I feel that my husband acted on these Bible principles. He assigned me honor based on the factual, scientific, and medical evidence of what my body goes through and what my mind went through postpartum, as well as he treated me the same way he would have wanted to be treated if he were to have gone through a health event. Oftentimes, men have a very pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality, and sometimes that comes out during the postpartum period. Also, there is a strong possibility that our husbands might have had a childhood that was not very nurturing or understanding. They might have been told when they were a child, a teenager, or a young man that they needed to suck it up and be a man. So when faced with situations where sensitivity and understanding is required, they might not genuinely know what to do. Or because so much time is constantly focused on the pregnancy and the baby, they might not be educated about how serious the postpartum period can be. But we need to remember that just because the baby is born, the mind and the body does not just immediately go back to normal. And I think more men need to be aware of this and educated about it. However, education alone is not enough to prevent a crappy attitude from arising in your husband. That is where humility, empathy, and sensitivity come into play. And I cannot give advice on that because those are attributes that one must cultivate because they want to cultivate it. So will having a baby cause a rift in your marriage? Possibly. But you and your husband can prepare ahead of time by educating yourself about the postpartum period, as well as work on cultivating attributes such as humility, empathy, and sensitivity. Cultivate tools now before children. If you are planning on having children, cultivate those tools now, those problem-solving tools and those attributes of sensitivity, humility, and empathy. And your marriage will have a full toolbox of tools to help mend rifts as well as prevent them. I really hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Please leave me your thoughts and your comments down in the comment section down below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!